As we are fresh off the high of dodging tariffs for another 30 days, our eyes are set on the federal government and how they're actually going to enact their 30-day plan so that we can avoid tariffs for the future. That is the goal. That is what we are seeing, and that's what we hope to see. And Trudeau posted an update just this afternoon saying through Canada's border plan, we're deploying thousands more frontline personnel to the border, launching a precursor chemical detention unit, and building a new drug profiling center to combat the fentanyl trade. This drug trade is a global, deadly issue, and Canada is tackling it head on. And again, typical politician work, making sure we're clarifying what the goal is, clarifying what's going to be happening. And in this case, you need to be clarifying because there's a lot at stake on this one. There's the encouragement, again, making sure that they are not forgetting about this, and we will continue to press them and hold their feet to the fire as we try to make sure we hold up our end of the deal by the end of these 30 days. But then there's something that caught my eye. Going through social media, trying to make sense of what is happening. And then I saw CNN interviewing Mark Carney. You know Mark Carney, the one who isn't an elected official. You know the Mark Carney that doesn't have any role in the current government, supposedly. You know the Mark Carney who's running for the Liberal leadership race? The guy who's hoping to be the next PM? You know that guy? Yeah. He got on with CNN with Jake Tapper, and CNN had the audacity to call Mark Carney a Canadian official.
Kind of a curious answer. I don't define myself as not being Phil Mattingly. How do you define being Canadian, and what did you make of Trudeau's comment?
Well, I think there's many differences between our two great nations. One of them is that Canada's a mosaic. The U.S. is a melting pot. Canada puts greater weight on social services, on healthcare, protecting each other. Canada has different ties. We have deep, deep ties with the United Kingdom through the Commonwealth. We have deep ties through Europe. We have a different approach to international relations. We're not the superpower. We're looking to support it. So we are quite different. But look, we love America. We love Americans. This is, as I say, one of the greatest relationships in the world.
There's Mark Carney there. Again, what he's talking about doesn't really totally matter. Aside from the couple of things he did say, it was like, Canada's a mosaic, USA is a melting pot. I've kind of heard those exact statements made from Justin Trudeau on other American TV networks, which I thought was very interesting. And again, another piece of proof that this is just the Liberal Party is just pushing the same narrative, no matter who their candidate is. But I was, again, as most Canadians should be, flustered by the idea that they are calling this man a Canadian official. He keeps doing things and putting himself in positions to make people think that he is our representative, make people think that he's involved with the Canadian government. And where has no official capacity. We know that he's been doing things behind the scenes, but we can ignore that for now. As things are done and said on paper, he has no connection to this Canadian government, though acts as if he is an elected member. As we heard from Dominic yesterday, Dominic LeBlanc, we don't need to have Parliament back to make decisions for Canadians. This Liberal Party is continuing to show these themes that they don't respect us. They don't care about what we have to think. It reminds me of a comment that the Klaus Schwab, chair of the World Economic Forum, made about the fear of predictive AI, just being able to predict elections and not needing to have actual elections because AI could just do it for us. And, there's certain right-wing outlets that use this as fear-mongering and saying, look what he's trying to do. And then the left try to defend it. It's like, that's not what he's actually trying to say. He's trying to show there's a fear. And it's like, you could tell he's kind of encouraging one way over the other. And that's what he had to say. That's what comes to mind as I'm seeing Carney act, as I'm seeing the comments from LeBlanc, is they genuinely don't care. Here's Schwab's comment to put things in context.
Don't know yet how the technology will look like, but one fear which I have heard is that technology now is, and digital technologies mainly have an analytical power. Now we go into a predictive power, and we have seen the first examples, and your company very much involved into it. But then the next step could be to go into a prescriptive mode, which means you do not even have to have elections anymore because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be. Can you imagine such a world?
Again, he's asking the question, if we get into predictive technology with AI, we could run into the issue of having people saying we don't really need elections. And again, that's the context that is around this. And I'm not going to read into it too hard because right now it's a speculation. I don't want to get into that. However, it is kind of weird. This is a kind of a weird conversation to go down. And what the behavior we're seeing out of the Liberals is they are completely shutting out Canadians from the electoral processes. Again, in our natural course of actions, this Liberal government would have been taken down a long time ago. Yet we're still here, pushing along. Parliament's been prorogued with no technical leader trying to deal with these tariff threats from Trump. And then we have Carney, who is running as a Liberal leader, and he's not in elected positions. He's not in any type of form working within the government, but yet somehow we find out that he's informing and having talks with those who are in the conversations with Trump, trying to negotiate these tariffs. Why is he in the room? Why is he involved? No one elected him. No one wanted him there. No one knew that he was a part of the government openly. So why are we going down this path? That is the question a lot of people are having, and the concern that we continue to have. And it gets frustrating when we see stuff like this, when CNN's saying, oh, the Canadian official of what? Official of what? And then you have these old articles that come up. This was from 2019, Mark Carney saying, firms ignoring climate crisis will go bankrupt, says Mark Carney. Companies and industries that are not moving towards zero carbon emissions will be punished by investors and go bankrupt, the governor of the Bank of England has warned. Mark Carney also told The Guardian it was possible that the global transition needed to tackle the climate crisis could result in an abrupt financial collapse. He said the longer the action to reverse emissions was delayed, the more the risk of the collapse would grow. Carney has led efforts to address the dangers global heating poses to the financial sector, from increasing extreme weather disasters to a potential fall in asset values such as fossil fuel company valuations as government regulations bite. The Guardian revealed last week that just 20 fossil fuel companies have produced coal, oil, and gas linked to more than a third of all emissions in the modern era. And the Bank of England has said up to $20 trillion of assets could be wiped out if a climate emergency is not addressed effectively. But Carney also said great fortunes could also be made by those working to end greenhouse gas emissions, with a big potential upside for the UK economy in particular. And this is why it's spooky that this guy's getting involved in the way he is. Not officially elected, and it's crazy that the Liberals will get to dictate who's going to be our next prime minister and not the Canadian populace as a whole. But this is what he wants. This is the world he sees and visions happening. That's why he was in charge of the net zero initiative with the United Nations. It's concerning what this guy wants to do and wants to see happen. He's talking about economies will shift, and that's essentially what he's alluding to. These companies will go bankrupt if they don't shift with us. But the fact he's making such a hard turn to make the economy what it needs to be is exactly what he wants to see happen. He makes a delineation in his book, Values, that there's a difference between social capitalism and then free market capitalism. Social capitalism is directed based on how people feel about how we're treating the earth. Makes a lot of illusions between the Amazon rainforest and the Amazon as the company, and what value they bring in a free market versus a social market economy. I could be mixing up those terms, but that's essentially what he was getting at. In this book, he talks about how we need to change and manipulate the economies to reflect our values, things that we hold dear, and not let the free market act as a free market. He talks about wanting to get the economy back on track, bringing it back to the middle. Yet everything I read about this man says he wants to manipulate and control the market as much as possible so that it produces the result that he wants to see. That should be a concern. So when I read this, and I read it honestly, I'm like, hey, he's talking about, markets will change. But then his book, he talks about how we should be having a say in changing and physically manipulating those markets to change that way, which then would bankrupt these companies. These are things you need to keep in mind. As I said, I know it would be hard and it's frustrating because you're giving money to the guy, but I think you need to read his book. Read what he's putting out, the literature he's putting out, and the ideas he's sharing so that you can be aware and be prepared for what is to come. If he gets in, or when he gets in, even if he's prime minister just for a little bit of time, that should be a concern, and we need to start raising the alarm bells now of what this guy's trying to do. He's going to keep pushing what has caused such issues in our Canadian economy as it is. This whole promise of a green future. We've seen this take place over the past 10 years. We've seen no results of it. And so we're going to say Mark Carney's going to come and say, oh, it just wasn't done right. I'm going to do it better. No, you lost your chance. It's over. You wasted 10 years of Canada's future down the pipe. We're not interested. And if you don't think that future is building pipelines and getting natural gas out to other markets and removing our dependence on the USA, then I have no interest in hearing from you. I think about this one critical piece that Jay Goldberg from the Hamilton Independent shared, and he shares exactly the sentiment I feel. Liberal leadership hopeful Mark Carney loves to claim he's an outsider. If Carney really wants us to be seen as an outsider, he needs to do more than just say he is one. Carney needs to put his money where his mouth is and present a clear plan to fix the Trudeau government's broken budget. Carney seems to have recognized that Canadians are tired of runaway deficits and tax hikes, but he's only promised to be different from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in the vaguest possible terms. The Prime Minister and his team let their attention wander from the economy too often, he says. At the official launch of his leadership in bid in Edmonton, I won't lose focus. I'm going to be completely focused on getting our economy back on track. Carney may be trying to claim he's not a politician, but that's as political as an answer possibly could be. No clarity, no substance, just hot air. So again, as I'm seeing this trend play out, as the Liberals try to cling on to power and bring people in that we didn't elect, and I know behind the scenes, technically in our Constitution, how things work here, it is allowed to be doing what he's doing. But the optics of it are absolutely awful, and we're not interested in having it, especially when you hear some of the comments different liberals are making. We want an election. We want Parliament recalled now. I look forward to February 13th when we hear the judge hears the case to annul the proroguement and get us back to the House of Commons. Be curious to hear more about that. And to finish this off, just for some fun, it's fun for all of us who aren't in Ontario, but the Ontario leadership race is heating up, and Bonnie Crombie's video, just trash him forward, came across my feed. I hate both of them. I think they're both terrible, but it is interesting to see and hear absolute disinformation about your opponent in electoral reform. So this was just funny. If you're not in Ontario, it's hilarious.
Just said he was happy Donald Trump won the election.
When the election day, was I happy this guy won? 100% I was.
Happy the guy who campaigned on a trade war with Canada became president?
The tariff will be substantial in some cases.
I am a tariff man standing on a tariff platform.
Was I happy this guy won? 100% I was.
He was happy? Was he happy Canadians might lose their jobs? Was he happy about the threat of Canada becoming the 51st state?
What I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state.
Was I happy this guy won? 100% I was.
Or does he just care so little about the people of this province
They should be a state.
that he saw an attack on Ontario as an opportunity for himself?
We need a clear mandate for 4 years of dealing with our American friends.
What else does he say when he thinks you're not listening?
Was I happy this guy won? 100% I was. 100% I was.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Talk about taking all the clips, mashing them together, and hoping no one puts it together. Wild. Good luck, Ontario. Have fun with that election. Anyways, have a good one. I'm out.